Benvenuti su Forma Vobis, un centro di formazione con scuole su Milano e in altre città in Italia, che collabora con ETS, il più grande ente certificatore al mondo per quanto riguarda la lingua inglese. È un ente no profit, è presente in 192 nazioni e per loro distribuiamo in esclusiva un prodotto che si chiama English Discoveries Online, brevemente detto EDO, che è una piattaforma web che fa del blended learning il suo, cavallo di battaglia. Che cosa vuol dire blended learning? Blended learning è un insegnamento misto con lezioni frontali, cioè con l'insegnante a vista, e poi con lavoro su piattaforma web. E questo metodo di insegnamento è molto efficace. Si riesce ad imparare l'inglese in un modo più veloce e molto più approfondito. Ci sono tanti vantaggi all'interno di questa piattaforma. Uno fra tutti, ad esempio, è il correttore di pronuncia. Tantissimi sono gli altri tipi di vantaggi. Ci rivolgeremo alle scuole, alle università, dove collaboreremo con i professori e adatteremo i loro programmi e li potremo portare all'interno della piattaforma. In questo modo gli insegnanti si troveranno lavoro molto facilitato, senza dover cambiare il tipo di insegnamento che loro fanno. Potranno controllare i loro alunni, potranno vedere quante volte accedono alla piattaforma, potranno vedere i risultati dei loro test e potranno vedere le debolezze dei singoli alunni.
So basically what happened was that we started a month and a half ago, with this pilot project. Every student has an account with a password and their name to log in. And we started to use it in class using the white interactive board. And then for homework, they had to use the platform so that we could check every single thing that they did, as we will show you in a second. The very nice and good part for us was that in that time that they use, at home for working with the English was actually monitorized in every single stats. So we can check from here, as you, professor, how much time they spent on the platform, what they did, what was wrong, how did they do it, if they actually did it or not, because everyone has their own password, so they cannot, at least they have to do it, and they can't just copy the homework, the morning before your lesson. We ask them, we have 4 hours of English per week, and we dedicate 1 hour of English each week. We started, this is a pilot project that we just started, but we are very happy and we are learning, We will show you all the things that we learned so far, but we know that there's much more to discover from this platform. And I would say that what we learned so far is that the students are very responsible. They really like this tool because it's new and it's you can use what you really want to use, because they're always connected to the internet. They love to use computers. They are even better than we are. I'm very bad at computer and internet, so if you are afraid of using it, don't be afraid, because this is very easy to use. If I learn it, you can learn it as well. What I would say is that every time I gave them my email address, and every time they had a mistake or like they had something that they couldn't manage, they had a hard time to do something, they wrote me in English an email straight, and I received my email on my cell phone and I could answer them immediately. And that was another point that they really liked, because we had this, email writing to each other in English, and that was a practice. Plus, they were very responsible for, because they knew that I was checking on their homework every day, or at least every week. So they really want to show me that they were doing well and they did their homework, and they really appreciate when they did good on their tests. Now, when I say test, you will understand what I mean by that, because basically I will pass the word to Edoardo just to show you how the general structure of this platform look like. It's divided into 3 parts. It's just like a book, our book that we use, and we try to integrate it to the course book, which is Headway, you probably know, that we are using in our classes.
Okay, I just stole one of my students' accounts so that I could give you an idea of how what the platform looks like from the point of view of a student, because of course there are different levels of control for the platform. So a student can, access and modify a few things. Of course, the teacher and the administrator can access and modify much more at a much deeper level. So this is what the homepage of the website looks like.
When you log in.
When you log in, so every student needs to have a username and a password. As you can see, you got my courses. So when I introduce the platform to my students, I ask them, pretend that my courses is your basic textbook, like Headway, divided into units, and helping you develop different abilities like reading, speaking, listening, reading comprehension, etc., etc. Then you've got something else, which I will just make an overview very quickly. Community, it's in my opinion, one of the pros of using this platform, because it gives you the access to really a gold mine of things. Like you have the magazine, which is my favorite tool in the platform, because it is a monthly updated magazine with articles that are graded. So according to the level of your students, you can decide whether they're going to read it in basic, intermediate or advanced level. So the content is the same, but the language, of course, is different. And they can do exercises on it, and it's interesting because the topics that are dealt with in the articles are interesting. One of the problems you have in keeping the students' attention on these books is that the idea behind these books is sometimes quite old, frankly, okay? Maybe 10 years old, but in a book and with people that are between 13 and 17-year-old, you need to be updated. You need to be up to date, otherwise you just lose interest. And this is monthly updated with new stuff, and frankly very interesting. For example, the very first time I used the platform with them, after the short introduction, I went and opened an article. It's speeding up your reading. It's about an app that has been created to speed up the reading. It's a reading technique. It's actually mind-blowing if you try it. And my students were just captivated, and they told me that after a few days they were just trying and read with this application at home. So you're actually catching their interest in a much, much funnier way, if you want. Let's go back to the home page. Sorry, to community.
Yes, just to add one thing. In this page where you have magazine, you both decide the level, as you said, but also in every single article you have 1 or 2 links where you can click on, and then you're connected to a video on YouTube or something else, always related. Here in this case was the actually app that they were talking about. That the article is talking about and dealing with, so that from home they can do it as well. And go on the internet and check and find out more. This is why this article was very interesting for them, so they actually wanted to know more and try it, and they actually did. And then after they read the article, which you can also print it out if you like, and this is what I did while I was using the white interactive board, you have all the questions just to measure their comprehension. You have 5 questions, and then they can, let's say, I'm just guessing randomly, and then you check the answer for each page, and you see how you did it, and how much did you understand out of this text. Okay, this is the community part.
The community also includes a section on idioms, which is something that students sometimes find hard to understand, to memorize. Talking idioms is called. And personally, when I begin the class, before even talking about grammar or reading or speaking or listening, I asked them to open their notebooks and write down at least 4 idioms of my choosing. So I choose 4. So of course relevant to what we are doing or relevant to the level of English, so something they could have heard or they could understand immediately. And I also asked them to think about the Italian translation, for example, because this helps them broaden their mind to the fact that English is not just a language, but it's an instrument within a culture. So this is something that they really like, and so when I do a test, for example my monthly test, I included, for example last week I included the idioms as well, and they did quite fine. And then let's go back to the book.
You want to show them also how it works?
Oh yeah.
Because as we said, we open our lesson with my level, which is very low level. We open with like 2 items, and they read a piece of cake, for example, the explanation, something very easy to do, and they copy it down. And you also have the example where the word is, the item is used. And then what it's nice is that you have a little dialogue here that you can hear, where the item is used, and they try to listen, understand. You probably didn't.
Did you hear it?
Yeah.
No, you have a phone. C'è il volume lì.
All right.
Okay.
So we leave community. We leave the community.
So basically, yeah, community is extra material that you can use to enrich your normal class. Okay, then you got my courses, which, as I told you, it's like a book on paper, divided into units, and each unit is also divided into components. Each component helps them develop a specific ability, for example, reading, listening, etc. This is what the students from my level, this first year level 2, so lower intermediate. So there are some attempts at complexity, but a lot of basic mistakes. So you want to, to strengthen the foundations, but also try something ambitious now and then with them. So the master, the administrator, and the teacher decides what each student is actually able to access on the platform. This is not, of course, all the content of the platform. The platform is very vast. It's quite vast, to be honest. Ranging the levels range from basic 1 to advanced 3, so there's a broad range, 10 levels. And each student is strongly advised to take the placement test at the very beginning. It's a test that tests, for example, reading abilities, listening abilities, etc., etc.
We asked that.
Yeah, just a couple of words on the placement test. It's made of 2 sections. In the first part, each student decides the level of difficulty that he believes he is able to cope with. And then, the computer checks if he was lying or if he overestimated his own abilities or not. Because the second part of the test is actually based, the level of difficulty is based on the success rate of the first part. So if the student believed he was an advanced level student but he got 5%, of course he will be demoted to basic level immediately, so that the result is actually accurate. So they will be put into these different 9 levels. Of course, being that this school did a placement test, uses a placement test as a division in 4 levels, even without a platform, so we had to adapt the different. It's like 2 units of measurement, but it's not a problem because we are pre-intermediate and lower intermediate, so we use intermediate 1 or maybe basic 3, so it's like a borderline between basic and intermediate, and it's perfectly okay. So for example, how did I use it? You need much more time to explore the platform, so I don't have I don't want to show you everything because it would be too long, and I don't want to strain your attention. But the point is, we always use paper textbooks. Everybody does, or almost everybody. So the big thing to address at the very beginning was, how do I put this and the platform together so that it's not something that the students perceive to be something different and distant and disconnected to what we've been doing for the preceding 7 months together. So how do I blend the platform into my courses, my classes? So I opened this book. This book is divided into units just as well. And I was on unit 7, for example. I don't know if any of you has this book, Headway, Intermediate. Well, anyway, the big grammar point was present perfect. Present perfect simple, present perfect continuous, and the difference between past simple and present perfect. So, which is actually quite challenging for low to lower middle level students because they don't know how to use it properly, frankly. So it is actually quite hard for us to, and for you, I'm sure, to have them truly understand how to use it, because it doesn't exist in Italian. So you have to create another mental category in the brain. So I just went on the platform, and there is a tool which is very useful. It's called Course Builder. So you can actually browse the content of the platform rather than. If you need something on a paper book, you just flip through the pages and you find it. On the platform, you just type in, and the relevant unit comes out, and you can just use it. We adopted a slightly different approach to the platform. You're following intermediate 1, so she's following step by step the intermediate 1 level.
Yes.
I'm not.
The thing was that my students took the placement test at first, and most of them placed themselves in the intermediate 1 course. So what I did was, as Eduardo told you, I selected intermediate 1 from the list of all the courses that I have. I had them using it, and the title is Education, which was actually the topic that I was dealing with during my vocabulary classes. And here you open your little book and you see all the different skills that they can practice and work on. Basically, I cover one topic, one ability for lesson. So let's say the first lesson I always start with the vocabulary, and then for each of the section you have an explore section, a practice, and a test section. So I click on the explore. We do it together. I do it, and they come also to the whiteboard and they use it. So we go over the list of words, which is not very long. They can memorize them for the next week. And then we listen to the correct pronunciation. We listen to the example. Everything.
Mel, did you finish your history assignment?
If you want, you can also record yourself repeating it and checking how the pronunciation was different from there. And then we go on with the practice. After you study the vocabulary, you have for every single part, you have an explore, practice, and test, as I said. So we have 5 pages of, let's say, exercise together in class. And then for homework, what they have to do is they need to review everything from their page when they log in, and then they take the test. And they do it as a homework, and then from my house, the night before, let's say on Tuesday I have this class, I check if they did it or not. And it would be nice if they can see also how we check and how you see them working.
Maybe later we'll have you take a look at the platform from the teacher's point of view, which is rather interesting.
So you keep going with all
So,
parts.
yeah, what I did is, so I have to focus on present perfect because it's the main topic of my Headway Digital Unit 7. So I went on the platform. Intermediate 1 deals with that precisely. So I had them do grammar exercises together. It's useful for them to do them together in class because there is always they're normally shy sometimes, and they're not very much into exposing themselves and try new grammar rules in front of the others. But with this, which is also rather fun, and there is some, they love technology, so it's a bit easier for us to to help them learn things about grammar. And once again, every unit, every component is divided into explore, which is the general introduction, practice, and then the test. Explore, the method used is very, let's say, experimental. So you have a dialogue which uses the grammar point you want to introduce. Which is underlined or highlighted with a color. No, that's okay. So it's a very short dialogue in which, for example, present perfect is used. And if they are new to present perfect, maybe they do understand, they get the meaning of the dialogue, but the next step is, what is happening? So how is the verb working? So the tense, what is particular about the tense? And if they don't understand, I click on see explanation. And there you go. You got a rather, well, it's not too long, okay, but it's a compact grammar if you want, which helps them understand the rule behind it, how to form it, how to use it, and a couple of examples. It comes into handy because sometimes they don't have this grammar book, reference grammar book with them. This, for example, we use Grammar and Vocabulary Multitrain with any other book. It's just the same. So it's a very, very fast and very easy way for them to revise the grammar if maybe they have forgotten something. So this is about grammar. And then I also check vocabulary, for example.
But you also have the grammar book.
Yes, and you have the big one there. So if you understand, for example, if you're talking to a student and you ask him, have you understood about, so what did you understand about present perfect? And did you understand? And he answers, yes, I have, instead of yes, I did. Maybe you realize that he doesn't know how to answer properly. So maybe question tags and short answers. So you go back to the big book about grammar and you revise everything you need. So this is just to say that in the component you got the specific grammar point you're revising. In the big grammar book you got just everything and you can browse through it whenever you need it. And then you also can go through the vocabulary, which is rather compact, which is good, because I used another method with them, with this book by Cambridge, English Vocabulary News. It's about 40, maybe 50 words per class. So it's rather long, or at least per lesson. So it's like 30 or 40 and then I add something. It's good, but sometimes they feel the need for something lighter and easier, more easygoing. So this is so far what I found useful in this platform. Another thing, sometimes the books, rather oddly, forget about grammar points. For example, Headway Intermediate doesn't talk about comparatives and superlatives. Why? I don't know. I honestly ignore it. But it's strange, because we are preparing our students for the PET, B1 certification, and if you check the reading part 5, writing part 1, there's always at least one superlative and one comparative. So, why does the book not include such an important grammar point? So I went to the platform and I just did it. Comparatives and superlatives. I also used this, okay, for homework, because the rules are in Italian, so the weaker students can use it. But the platform was very, very useful. It was very, very effective as well, because they did rather fine in the test. Yeah, so that's basically it.